Welcome to Bitter Reality Brewing. Yes, as you can see, it's that time again. It's gonna take a good 3 to 4 weeks, maybe a little longer to get everything 100%, so we wanna get this started early in August. Dressed appropriately. My Nightmare Before Christmas coffee mug with plenty of coffee. Basically, we're doing our pumpkin ale. Done this before, did it about 2 years ago. A little high on the cinnamon side, so this time I'm going to adjust the spices. Instead of just putting in a pumpkin spice mix, I'm actually going to control how much cinnamon goes into this thing. Base malt, quite obvious. We're sitting on Maris Otter. Maris Otter is just perfect for a darker pumpkin ale. I don't believe in, well, I won't say I don't believe in. I don't usually care for a pumpkin lager. Pumpkin ale. So I have almost 5 pounds of organic pumpkin. Why did I get canned pumpkin? People go, oh my God, why didn't you get fresh pumpkin? It's August. There is no fresh pumpkin, at least not in Florida. And this is organic, it's 15 ounces, so it's actually about 4.7 pounds. We're going to roast that. If you've ever done a pumpkin ale and you haven't roasted your pumpkin, you're missing out. I mean, you want a boiled potato? You want a roasted potato. It brings out so much more of the flavor. Spread that out on a nice cookie sheet, roast it on one side, flip it over, roast a little more, add it right at the very end. That way you kill everything and it's great. Also make sure if you're using spices, if you're not putting them in alcohol or boiling them, you put them in at the very end of the boil. The key is those spices can contain all kinds of foreign bacteria, particles you don't know. Always make sure it's sterile before you dump it into your beer, and if you don't, make sure your beer is nice and hot to kill off anything. We only have about I believe it's about a 13-pound malt bill, which isn't that big, but we're still going to be sitting up just under 8%, maybe over 8% based on our brewhouse efficiency, because yes, we're watching our pH again, more than we ever do, and we're using the Anvil small malt adapter because it really humped our efficiencies. We went from like the low 70s on a good day all the way up to 85%. I'm not quite expecting 85% today, but if I get it, great. Not too worried. Doing a pound of Munich Dark, 7.5 pounds of Maris Otter, sorry, a pound of Victory Malt, a pound of Flaked Wheat. It's gonna give us a nice body to it, help carry that pumpkin flavor through. 12 ounces of Honey Malt, 8 ounces of Caramel 10, 6 ounces of Caramel 40, 6 ounces of Aromatic, and yes, you know me, I love rye. I like to sneak a little bit in, so I'm gonna sneak about 6 ounces in just to give it a hint of spice. 12 ounces of brown sugar. Now I put 2.4 ounces of corn sugar. There's no real corn sugar in this. What I did is because Beersmith doesn't account for the sugar in the pumpkin, I put that into my recipe to account for that sugar that the pumpkin's going to add to the beer. Little trick. Not everybody thinks about it until after the fact. Other things, of course, but we're gonna add, actually, once we get in the keg, is vanilla extract. That really brings out a lot of flavor, gives it a nice smooth taste. The vanilla and the pumpkin go so well together. And we're using White Lab's London Ale, kind of like California. The only difference is it works really great with a nice malty body and other flavors to bring those flavors out. Just like hops, for some reason, I noticed the London Ale really had that pumpkin really stood out. And I don't believe in pumpkin beer, not having pumpkin, for the love of God. Put pumpkin in your pumpkin ale. I want to see pumpkin flavored. It's the reason I started brewing a pumpkin beer. I never intended to brew a pumpkin beer, but I got angry when I went to the store. Everything was pumpkin flavored, pumpkin spice. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't mean pumpkin. So let's get brewing. We got our Anvil, got our jaded Brewzilla. I want to say Brewzilla. Jaded Zilla. Don't forget, subscribe, like. Got tons more brews coming up. Got a contest coming up. Giveaway, however you want to call it. This is raspberry blonde ale sitting over there finishing up before we move it to the keg. Let's get brewing. Okay, so we're at 152. Brewing salts. There we go. And did not burn myself, which is always good. We have some chalk and some baking soda to add, but that's going to increase the alkalinity. So we'll add those after the mash. Okay, let's get mashed in. We're using the small adapter here, or small batch adapter. I'll drop that bad boy in there. Oops. Gotta move that. Got some flaked wheat in here, so we're gonna add a nice helping of rice hulls. Okay. Okay, on our last video, we tried not using this and just adjusting the pump. Somebody in the Anvil forum on Facebook pointed out something that if you got a good flow, you might be okay, but otherwise restricting the flow to the actual pump can cause problems and actually damage the pump or cause it to overheat. It's a little warm that day, but it usually is. So we'll go for safety and we'll put this back on here. The pumps are relatively inexpensive compared to what some companies sell their pumps for. Not naming names, but I don't want to waste money either. So goes the pump. There we go. Time to restrict. That looks pretty nice. I'm gonna let this run. We're gonna let this run for about 10 minutes. We'll take a quick pH sample, see where we are, adjust accordingly, should we say. Okay, we're on our last 10 minutes. Let's get our temperature up. We'll mash out, we'll kick this all the way up. And we'll start heating the sparge water. Time to sparge. Fun time. And get this on the first try. Definitely on the heavy side. Hey, we're gonna let that drip for a little bit and then we'll start sparging. Okay, I'm not gonna say we had a stuck sparge, but that's pretty close. We had quite a bit of water sitting up on top there. It is draining, it's just taking a little longer than normal. So we are rocking and rolling, like I said. Almost boil over, it was very close. I hit the power, I was getting ready to drop it, but I left it alone. Just scraping the bottom, making sure everything's good. Okay, we have a hour and a half boil, and we have our first hop addition. Something I can't pronounce. Tettnang or Tettanger, I'll put it up there, but got an ounce and a half. It's gonna give us right at about 22, 24 IBUs. Just looking to balance out some of that sweetness because it's definitely a pumpkin beer and pumpkin beers are definitely a little on the sweeter side. White Lab says the attenuation can be as high as 75%, but according to what I was reading, 71 is about what they normally see. So our final gravity should be somewhere around 1.016. Get this crazy thing out of our way before we hurt ourselves. Okay, we're gonna let that boil. Not too worried about the hops. It's a noble hop. The key is, the reason I use a noble hop for something like this is it's very smooth. Noble hops aren't crazy on flavor, they're just really smooth. And a spice possibly, which I'm okay with. If you drop the power, sometimes you end up with more wort than you want it, so gotta be careful. Okay, so we're on the last 10 minutes of the brew. Now, add our super moss. We added the chilled wort. And add a little helping of Wyeast. Never added too much, or I don't know about too little, but never added too much. Don't go crazy. Got 12 ounces of dark brown sugar. It's just dark. I like to say dark, but it's just dark. Stir that up because we don't want it to settle to the bottom and burn or scorch in any way. Okay, we'll give it about 5 more minutes and we'll add a couple more things, including the Scylla wort chiller, immersion chiller. Okay, I have one enhancement here.
I didn't do this last time, and looking at pumpkin spices, I noticed a couple of really good pumpkin spices out there that sounded amazing. It had a little bit of orange zest or sweet orange zest. This is Tangelo. It's the brightest thing I could get that smells amazing. About an ounce of it in there. That's 2 ounces and I think just under a quarter. I measured it. 1.14 of an ounce. That's going to give us a little brightness, a little pizzazz, should we say. Okay, we're going to drop the Scylla in here and cook the boil off, but let's stir that up. The pumpkin's already been roasted, so we'll add that after the fact. Last time I did this, I did it on a grandfather, and the pump didn't really like all that pumpkin, so I'm just going to avoid it. Okay, here we go. Let's kick this off. No wraiths. If I can see in the sun. There we go. Heat off. Let's get the Scylla hooked up. Okay, we're dropping temp quick. Standard operation for a jaded brewing Scylla chiller or immersion chiller. There we go. Agitation, get that temperature drop a little faster. Not exactly flowing as heavy as it usually does. I know it was cleaned out last time. A little concerning. Might be clogged down near the... Yeah, I see bits of orange coming through, so might be a little bit of a clog down there. I see a lot of orange stuff coming through. We might be clogging our pump up. I think we clogged the pump. Haven't done that one yet. So we're gonna kill the pump for now. It'll chill. We'll get it down. Not a big deal. We got the Scylla. Okay, I didn't want to use the pumpkin in here until later. I didn't want to clog the pump, but the orange zest is clogging the inlet of the pump. So we're gonna do it old school style. I'm just gonna pour it in, and then we'll be back. Where there's a will, there's a way. And that's the way today. So we'll get this filled up. Okay, there's still plenty of beer in there. Now our port's clogged. We'll get it working. Okay, I probably should have got that on video. I just stirred it, banged on it a little bit, and a clump of orange zest came out, and everything's flowing again like normal. Note to self, more than an ounce of orange zest can clog things up pretty good. And we're just gonna add the roasted pumpkin right into the big carboy. And then we'll dump the beer in there from the other carboy to oxygenate. Okay, we finished the pumpkin ale. Gotta pitch White Labs London Ale in there. There. You know this trick. Got the magnet over here holding the stir bar. Smells really nice. More than enough. I've already aerated it. I know it doesn't look like it. I'll shake it up a little bit more. I took a gravity before I added the pumpkin because I wanted to see how we did as far as on our brew house efficiency. I was looking for at least 75% or better, hoping I didn't hit 85. We nailed 75. I'm okay with that. I'd rather get what I'm expecting than way over, way under. The little adapter and the pH really didn't seem to make that big of an impact, although for some reason the mash was a little thick and that may have caused issues. I'm not sure why it seemed thick, it just was. I know we had some flaked wheat in there, but I'm good with that. So pitch the White Labs. I'm gonna calibrate one of my tilt hydrometers. We'll drop that in so I can kind of monitor things and we'll let it go. Take a little while to ferment, and I'm okay with that. Thank you again for joining Bitter Reality Brewing. Don't forget, subscribe, like, and share. Thank you again.